What is the first mitzvah in the Torah? So some people will say belief in God. Indeed, that's what Maimonides says. First of the Ten Commandments is the belief in God, and he says that's the first mitzvah. Belief in God, unity of God, love of God, awe of God, in that order. Makes sense. It's logical for it to be first. Others could say, the first mitzvah that's actually mentioned in the book of Bereshit is the mitzvah of being fruitful and multiply. That also makes sense. To have a continuation of humanity, you need to have children. And others will say, well, the first mitzvah that happens to a person in their lifetime, and the first mitzvah Abraham got, is the bris. So the first mitzvah is to have a bris. Okay. But then we have the first Rashi in the Torah telling us, why does the Torah begin with the story of creation and Adam and Eve, and then Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the Jewish people going to Egypt? Why doesn't it all begin with the first mitzvah Hashem tells the Jewish people? What's the first mitzvah Hashem tells the Jewish people before they go out of Egypt? It's what we're going to read as a special reading this Shabbat. That this month will be for you as the first of all months. What mitzvah is that? It's the mitzvah of the Jewish calendar. So the Jewish calendar was told to the Jewish people just before they're ready to go out of Egypt. And then the continuation of the portion that we're going to read tomorrow as we prepare for Pesach is that Hashem tells the Jewish people, you're going out of Egypt, there's going to be this I'm going to smite the firstborn. In order for not to hit the Jewish people, you need to take a Paschal lamb and put the blood on the doorpost. And that's what we're going to be reading about tomorrow as we get ready for Pesach. But the start of it is this law about the Jewish calendar. The question is, why is that so significant? What's the significance of the Jewish calendar being the first mitzvah that Jewish people received? Why would that be a first? So we have to understand that the Jewish calendar was given quite cryptically. All it says is that this month will be for you the first of the months, the first of all the months of the year. So there's two aspects here. Number one is that the month of Nisan is considered the first month of the year, even though the year begins a half a year ago. But the first month of the year is the month of Nisan. That's one thing. In addition to that, this is the mitzvah of the Jewish calendar, which is given over to the Jewish court to decide when the first month of the first day of the month is, and how the entire calendar is developed. Witnesses would come to the courts and say, we saw last night, we saw the moon, and so the next day would be the first day of the month because they saw the moon the night before, and that's how they would establish when the first of the month would be. So why is that first? So those commentaries will say as follows. When Hashem gave the Torah to the Jewish people, because the Torah is able to be translated and has been translated, many nations can come along and claim ownership and say, well, that's the law, it's the Old Testament, there's new ones, there's new ideas, we are now the recipients of the covenant, etc. So what Hashem would say to them is, like this story of a fellow who found a closed bag that looked like diamonds in a diamond district, and and many people claim it's theirs. So he comes and gives them the bag and says, "Yeah, it's yours. Let's see you be able to open. The code. And the one who knows how to open it, then it's theirs." So Hashem comes to the Jewish people. Hashem gives the Torah, and then He gives us the code, which is the oral tradition. And only those who know the oral tradition, which is basically the Jewish people who received it from Moses and it was handed down from generation to generation, they're the ones who are the guardians of the written Torah as well. So it's very important because our Judaism is very different if you have or don't have an oral tradition. The whole Judaism is dependent on the oral tradition Hashem gave to Moshe and how that develops over the period of time. And it's so significant that Hashem says, you know what? You know when Rosh Hashanah is going to be? You know when Yom Kippur is going to be? You know when Pesach is going to be? It's based on what the rabbis say. So in other words, these significant cosmic moments, when there's transformational periods in life, when there's cosmic difference and distinction between one day and the next, there's a energy of freedom that exists only on Pesach, when there's an energy of forgiveness on Yom Kippur, and it's only that day that has this tremendous power. That is all based on when the rabbis established the first day of the month is going to be. So Hashem says, I, I am, so to speak, beholden to how you decide and calculate the first day of the month. So it's incredibly significant, cosmically so, and therefore therefore it's the first. It's the first day of the. It's the first because gives us, number one, the appreciation of the role of Torah Sheba'al Peh, the oral Torah has to be so significant within our Judaism. But there's another very important point that is expressed here, and that is the value of time. Time is the precedent for all of existence. Creation happens in time. What do you mean? When you create space, there's before it's created and after it's created. That's time. And what Hashem wants to tell us is how we value time, how important it is that we put significant value in time. And the idea behind it is like this. You know, there's a famous statement of Rabbi Tarfon: the day is short, but the work is much, which means, put it as follows. There's a concept called pastime. Pastime. That there's time and you just want to pass it. But we have to look at time very differently. Time is given to us to fill. Each moment of time that we're given has significance for us to fulfill our purpose and mission in the world. And we're only allotted the amount of time necessary for us to fulfill fully our mission. We don't get any extra time. So if we miss out on filling a particular period of time in the way we should, we don't get an extra time later, because afterwards the next period of time has its own mission. And so how are we going to fill the mission that we missed out? Because this new period of time has its own mission. So this is the first mitzvah, is to understand how precious every moment of time that we're given. The Rebbe's secretary once said that the Rebbe was waiting to come to Mincha to go to a service, and the service started at a particular time. The Rebbe was waiting to go to the service. He had 40 seconds till he walked out the door. He took a quite deep book in Torah and started looking at it just for 40 seconds, because the 40 seconds was valuable. That's how we have to value time. So we can't, when the idea of we shouldn't put off to tomorrow what we could do today, meaning if we're not doing anything significant today, don't put it off to tomorrow, because then tomorrow has its mission, today's mission is gone. So the concept that we learn from this is that when the Torah says, I will fill the days of your life, says Rabbi Akiva, that means to say that we're given an amount of time, and it could be shortened when we don't fulfill our mission, or we can get the full measure but we can't get extra. There's no extra time. We have the amount of time that is allotted to us for us to fulfill our mission. So this mitzvah is there in order for us to appreciate the tremendous significance of our time. And that's why it's the first mitzvah, because that is extremely central to our perspective on life. Good Shabbos.